it takes listening to another person or processing input from another person. It takes that really seriously, right? Because that was key to our survival. We've learned that if someone's talking to me, there's a lot going on, right? I got to model what you're doing. I got to try to simulate your mental state. And so if you put yourself constantly in a state of processing input from other minds, your brain doesn't know that, just like an Instagram post, it doesn't know that. So it's using a lot of resources, exhausts it, makes you anxious to always be doing that. Boredom drives us towards action. But it's basically a listening to boredom experiment. Like, just be there with the boredom and see where it drives you when you don't have, the digital Cheez-Its. Okay, so if I can't do that, where is it going to drive me? Well, I guess I kind of want to go to the library, which came up a lot, by the way. A lot of people rediscovered the library,
with physical books.
So like you can just go borrow them.
Your brain is telling you, hey, buddy, we don't need a job because we have everything that we need right here. What do we need? Nothing. We need to do something today. And then your brain says, why do we need to do something? We need a job for independence. But he's like, you don't need independence. Like, you've got independence right here. You can sleep when you want to. You can eat when you want to. You can play games when you want to. This is actually the perfect lifestyle. Desires like availability is like very, very important, affect our motivation. If you put a freshly baked chocolate chipped cookie made from scratch in front of me every day, I will probably eat it. So then the question becomes, if our desires are not like a good source of motivation, what is a good source of motivation? Because your needs are met.
When you don't get what you want is partly that you get anxious about it, and that's actually a newer system, and it's also painful. And then you explore, look around. Epiphenomenal. It's way down there. It's an old system. But it also says, well, in the absence of certainty, explore. Or what you can do when you're bored, because if you're bored, why not explore? My experience has been no one ever gets away with anything. You may be too stupid later to notice the causal sequence that leads to your downfall because of that mistake. The idea that you can get away with it is that's like the most dangerous idea. That the way you get to those states of hell, Nazi hell, Mao hell, Stalin hell, is by making that first stupid mistake that you knew you shouldn't make, and then the next stupid mistake, and then the next 5 stupid mistakes, along with everyone else who's making the same stupid mistakes. And each of those is a violation of personal responsibility, and a conscious one. And if 20 million people do that 100,000 times, then you end up with 60 million dead in 50 years. It was pretty bloody clear that hell existed. It also became very clear to me, partly because of that and partly because of my clinical practice, that hell was not a place that I wanted to live or take people. And so that's what you're deciding, just like all those old stories always said.
Put simply, Krebs doesn't stand much chance in the era of supernormal stimuli. What's Krebs to do in the face of a Big Mac, fries, and milkshake dinner, followed by a 3-hour Mountain Dew-fueled Call of Duty session and 2 hours of surfing Pornhub while smoking a joint? What array of enticements did a 19-year-old hunter-gatherer encounter to goose his dopamine?
We have to do X, Y, and Z today, or we can't do this and that. But I realized that basketball became my escape. And I no longer could escape from my life.
They gave study participants a random boring task. The most boring one, reading the phone book. Then they asked participants to be creative, generate as many ideas as they could for what you could do with a plastic cup. Those in the most boring read the phone book condition generated the most creative solutions compared to less bored controls.
The techno-philosopher Jaron Lanier convincingly argues that the primacy of anger and outrage online is, in some sense, an unavoidable feature of the medium. In an open marketplace for attention, darker emotions attract more eyeballs than positive and constructive thoughts. Repeated interaction with this darkness can become a source of draining negativity. It provided me, in other words, a much better understanding of what Andrew Sullivan meant when he lamented, "I used to be a human being."
People don't succumb to screens because they're lazy, but instead because billions of dollars have been invested to make this outcome inevitable. Technology is not neutral, Cooper interrupts. It's not neutral. They want you to use it in particular ways and for long periods of time, because that's how they make their money. Minimizing distraction and respecting users' attention would reduce revenue. Compulsive use sells. We begin with the first force, intermittent positive reinforcement. Scientists have known since Michael Zeiler's famous pecking pigeon experiments from the 1970s that rewards delivered unpredictably are far more enticing than those delivered with a known pattern. These technologies are in many cases specifically designed to trigger this addictive behavior. Thoreau's New Economics considers such math woefully incomplete, as it leaves out the cost in life required to achieve that extra $59 in monetary profit. Like Thoreau's farmers, you end up crushed and smothered under the demands on your time and attention, and in the end, all you receive in return for sacrificing so much of your life is a few nicer trinkets, the digital equivalent of the farmer's Venetian blinds or fancier pot. It's easy to be seduced by the small amounts of profit offered by the latest app or service, but then forget its cost in terms of the most important resource we possess, the minutes of our life.